He kept dreaming, oh, that someday he'd be a star, a superstar, but he didn't get far. But he sure found out the hard way that dreams don't always come true. Listen. Today we're going to be deconstructing the lyrics to the song Midnight Train to Georgia. This is for a new series that I'm doing that is going to de-misogynize and de-mammy the lyrics of songs that shaped our world and our lives. For those of you who don't know me, I am Tanya TKO and I'm a self-love specialist. Typically, I review viral stories and look for the self-love lessons in here. But this is for a new series, so if you like this series, please comment which song you'd like for me to de-mammy or de-misogynize next. Today, we're going to be talking about Gladys Knight and her first husband, Jimmy Newman. This is Gladys Knight's first husband. His name was Jimmy Newman, and this is her when she was a teenager. Her claim to fame came in the 1960s when she joined the group The Pips. And in 1961, after they had had a hit song, and there were several other people who were in the group before, other women singers, and they all left, then Gladys came in and they started getting hits. And in 1961, they changed the name of the group to Gladys Knight and the Pips. There's some controversy about whether the Pips was really the Pimps, but one of her cousins' name was Pip, and so that's what they are going with. I mean, you can even tell from his face that this is a mean-looking man. So in 1961, they changed the group to Gladys Knight and the Pips. He married her when she was 16. You see how young she looks? When she was 16 in 1960. And right after they changed the name to GK and the Pips, right? He got her pregnant in 1962, of which she left the group of her namesake to have children with this man, right? And I want you to just remember this because once I go through the lyrics, there's some other details that are relevant to the story. When I was a little girl, I loved this song. It had train sounds and it had a catchy chorus. And recently I sang this song at karaoke, and there were a lot of things that dawned on me in this new era of decentering men. So let's jump into the lyrics. LA proved too much for the man. He couldn't make it. So he's leaving the life he's come to know. He said he's going back to find what's left of his world, the world he left behind not so long ago. He's leaving, right? Leaving on that midnight train to Georgia. Said he's going back to find to a simpler place and time. And when he takes that ride, guess who's going to be by his side? Oh, yes. I'll be with him, I know you will, on that midnight train to Georgia, leaving on that midnight train. I'd rather live in his world than live without him in mind. Pay attention. He kept dreaming, oh, that someday he'd be a star, a superstar, but he didn't get far. But he sure found out the hard way that dreams don't always come true. So he hung up all his hopes, and he even sold his own car, bought a one-way ticket back to the life that he once knew. Oh, yes, he did. And then it talks about him leaving and how she's going to be by his side. Guess what? Guess who was from Atlanta, a musician? They met when they were teenagers. They're supposedly high school sweethearts, though it does look like there's a bit of an age difference between them. Here you go. He married her when she was 16 years old in 1960. There's not a lot of information about him. They couldn't find an obituary because of the non-noteworthiness in which he lived his life. So he had tried managing the group for a short while, but he failed at that as well. And remember when it talked about him selling his car? Turns out he was addicted to drugs. This story goes deep. Well, you know how they say art imitates life. I believe that this song was about her first husband. And though she followed him around, left the group, and was the good wife or whatnot, he became addicted to drugs and ended up abandoning her and the 2 children that she had with him. And in 1964, she actually rejoined the Pips, Gladys Knight. So now let's break down the lyrics. The data is very clear about how men feel. Data shows that men feel stressed if their female partner earns more than 40% of the household income. And that's in today's time. I can only imagine what it was like in the 60s when misogyny and misogynoir were at a tremendous high, especially coming off of the 50s where they had those stay-at-home wives, etc., etc. So let's break down the lyrics. What is the one thing that you did not hear in the lyrics? You heard him talking about how he's going back, he's leaving, he sold his car. You didn't see anything in there about him inviting her. You didn't see anything in there about him making a space for them to have. So this is what I think happened. They both started out as musicians. And then I guess, you know that song, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you, right? There are far too many men who feel that if a woman can do it, that they can do it. So Gladys Knight, she has a tremendous voice. If you're not familiar with who it is that she is, just look her up. Her voice is magic, right? And so I believe that her career was taking off and he was like, well, I'm going to be able to do X, Y, Z. So they go out to LA. And it proved too much for the man. He couldn't make it. He had these dreams of being a superstar, but her star was rising and his was not. And he became jealous. There are a lot of women on here who have documented evidence of how men baby trap women. So as she is on the ascend at the age of 16, he marries her. And then as soon as her name gets put on the group, he impregnates her. Not only that, he's talking about he's going to leave because his star is not ascending, he's not making it. And I believe that he was tremendously jealous of her. I believe that, and listen, I don't know if this song is about him, but the evidence is all too clear. The song was released in 1973, and that was around the same time that she was able to get a divorce from him. Even though he had abandoned her, he wouldn't, I'm not going to speculate. Nonetheless, the moment she was able to get a divorce from him, she releases this song, and then he dies soon after. It's not funny, but listen, egos. So he's the one who had to sell his car. He had this drug habit, and it didn't say anything about her having to pawn off her jewelry and she's doing well. And she decided to tag along with him because according to male-centeredness, according to the misogyny, according to the patriarchy, a woman is supposed to follow her man for his career, not the other way around. A woman is supposed to be a good wife and be at home with the kids, not the husband, assisting in the ways that he can to raise his offspring. But no. How many of you out there believe that he became a terrible person to be around? That he was moody, in a funk? This is probably when he decided to get addicted to drugs to drown out his pain and sorrow and to make her life a living hell there. He probably gave her an ultimatum or was like, you could do whatever you're gonna do and I know what I'm gonna do. I'm going back to Georgia, right? Because he couldn't stand the brightness of her light. Whitney Houston went through something like that as well. I'm going to have to get that video for you in a later one. But listen, if you enjoyed this breakdown, let me know what song you want me to cover next. Write it in the comments. Subscribe, share, follow me on YouTube, which is the main platform. I believe that he became jealous of her and wanted to make her pay and suffer for dear outshining him. And she probably tried to dim her light. That's why she left the group. And then when all was said and done, he still abandoned her with children.
you.